I'm Anita. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a neck piece. This one I'm calling El Dorado, and it's going to be a little bit more of a masculine style of a neck piece. It actually would be able to wear by a female or male person. I'll have links in the description box below that'll apply to all the products used in today's tutorial. And these beads, I actually just had some old beads in my bead stash. So let me tell you a little bit about the materials. And really, you can probably do this with anything that you have. I'm using suede cording. This is a 2.7 millimeter. I'm going to have a couple of pieces that are about 8 inches each, 2 strips here. The finished length of my neck piece, I'm aiming to be about 22 inches. So that's about the average neck circumference I'd want for a guy to be able to wear this. I've got these 3 beads. It looks like turquoise, but it's called Magnesite. It's a barrel type bead with a center drill. And then I've got 4 pieces of Hematite barrel type beads. Very simple design. And then I've got these little spacers that are going to go in between. They're kind of elongated shape with a round shape around like that. Very simple design. I'm going to have a lobster clasp, a 4 millimeter jump ring, and then you're going to need 4 of these. These are leather crimping findings. And I have a split ring here. This is like about a 9 millimeter. And I'm also using a rod. This is a 1 millimeter rod, and that is to set up the design I'm going to use, and then I'll be stringing this on some braided metal wire, and I'll show you that in just a moment. So in addition to these leather crimping findings, you're also going to need a piece of stringing wire or beading wire. This is a 0.18. You can get this at any craft store. Looks like that. I'm probably going to use about, maybe 8 inches or so of this. And then you're going to need a couple of crimp tubes. I'm using a number 2 for this. And also for tools, you're going to be needing some, this is a split ring tool to open your split ring, and I'll show you how to use that. I need a couple of pair of flat nose pliers and a pair of scissors, and I'm also going to use some crimping pliers. Now there are 2 different types depending on how this works. I may end up using these. These have a sharper crimp here, as you can see, and these are slightly the same but a little bit rounded. So use whatever crimping tool you have on hand, and then we'll get started. So I'll clear my area and I'll show you what to do next. Alright, to get started, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to string the design that I'm going to be stringing on the beading wire on this rod, and this just gives me the ability to make changes if I don't like it. And once I get the design set, I will be putting them on the beading wire. So this is a steel rod. I get these on Amazon. Just do a search for 1 millimeter metal rods. And then I'm using a couple of earring rubber stoppers to keep the beads from sliding off. So what I decided to do with my design is I'm going to start with a hematite bead. And now I'm going to put a spacer. And I decided that I would put a magnesite barrel and then another spacer. So that's going to be my pattern right there. Very simple, streamline hematite, a couple of spacers around the magnesite, and then I'm going to repeat that pattern until I get to the end. So let me get those strung on, and then I'll show you what I do next. Alright, so here is the pattern I ended up with. It's very simple, streamlined. So I'm going to measure this because my objective is to have a finished length of 22 inches. So this is measuring approximately 6 inches. So I've cut 2 of my leather strands at 8 inches each, as you can see. So I've got 2 of these, so that will give me an equivalent of 22 inches of a finished length. Might be a little longer once I get the findings on. So now that I have that done, I'm going to cut a piece of stringing wire. You will need some wire cutters for this project, I failed to mention. So what I'm going to do is I'm measuring the length of my piece with the wire, and then I'm going to add, about another 3 or 4 inches to allow for the crimping tubes at the end. So I'm going to cut this right here. And I'm going to get a crimping spring to put at the end. So if you have one of these, it would be handy to have. It's like a little spring coil. And I'm going to put that at the end of my wire to keep my beads from falling off. And I'm going to be stringing these exactly as they are coming off on my wire. So I'm going to pop that on. So you're just going to string these on exactly as they are on your wire from your rod, steel rod, to your beading wire. So just continue pulling those off. This is a real simple style to do. Doesn't take very many beads. So if you're limited with what you have on hand, this is a pretty neat little design to do, because then the remainder of your chain is the leather cord that we're going to be putting our clasp, lobster clasp on to be able to fasten, and it'll look very nice. Something that anyone can wear, male or female. All right, so we got a couple more beads here to put on. And this is the last one. So that's what it looks like right there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my crimp tube out. I'm also going to pull out a couple of wire guardians to put at the end. So let me grab those extra pieces and we'll wrap this video up. All right, for the other materials, you're also going to need a couple of wire guardians that look like that, and a couple of number 2 crimp tubes. You can get these at any craft store. So before we do the crimping on this, I am going to put our leather cord findings on one end of the leather cord. So I'll show you how to do one of these. So you're going to take your leather cord and place the finding at the end. So you want your leather cord to be nestled right in that little divot right here. So we're just going to hold that temporarily, and I'll get my crimping tool and show you how we put this in here. So I've got that in there, and what I'm going to do is take my very skinny pliers. I've got a pair of flat nose pliers that I'm going to hold this with, because it's kind of hard to hold that and crimp. So I'm going to try to hold this with my flat nose. Just like that, just enough until you can get this crimp folded over. So as I'm holding this, I'm going to take my crimping tool and I'm going to bend one side of the crimping finding just like that. Now I'm going to pull my flat nose out, and I'm going to now come from the other side and crimp down. Like that. So now that it's somewhat in there, notice I've got to flatten it now. So I'm going to use my flat nose pliers to do the final crimp on this. So you want to position this right over and just squeeze that flat. You have to give it a nice tight squeeze. So what you've done is you've folded it halfway on one side, halfway on the other, and then you squeeze straight down the middle like that. So now we're going to do the other end. So that's how you put on a crimp finding on a leather cord. So we'll do the other one just like that. Place that in there. If it sticks out a little, that's okay. Going to hold that with some skinny pliers, and you're going to fold one half of this in just a little. Push that up as it's coming out. All right, so I'm going to squeeze that in just a little. Now I'm going to squeeze the other side. Like that. So now you're going to position this so that you can place your flat nose right on top and squeeze straight down. Give it a couple of tight squeezes. And there you have a flattened crimp over your leather cord, and this isn't going anywhere. Now you could put a little bit of glue in there, but this is on here pretty good. It's not going to go anywhere. So here we have both of these ends ready to go, and I'll do these other two off camera. What we're going to do is we're going to be stringing our beads now, and we'll do that next. All right, now that we have our crimp ends done, we are now going to take our beads that are on the stringing wire, and we're going to put these with a wire guardian and a crimp tube. So first of all, you're going to take your crimp tube, put that on your wire, like that. And I'm going to take my wire guardian, put that on. And then I'm going to bring my wire down the other side of the wire guardian. And I want to leave enough slack so that I've got enough room on the other end to do this. So once I have that on, my tube is down here, I'm going to take this and put this through the opening on the leather cord finding, because I want that to go through my wire guardian like that, so that'll be fastened. So now I'm going to fold these wires together and bring my crimp tube back over both of the wires. So we're going to pull that up like that. You want that crimp tube to be as close to your wire guardian as you can. Pull those together. So that's what that should look like. So now I'm going to take my crimping tool, and you want your wires to be next to each other, not overlapping. So I'm going to take my wire crimping tool, and I want to place it in the divot. Let's flip this around. I'm going to place it in the divot in my tool because I want it positioned like this. Now I'm going to squeeze. Like that. And now I'm going to fold that by placing this in the first or second notch and squeezing again. And just make sure that's nice and tight. So from here, I'm going to pass the remaining wire through the beads, and I'm going to feed these all down just to give it extra support. So now we're going to do the other side. So just let your beads feed down to the other end of the wire. And now we're going to take our clamp off this side. And we're going to put our crimp tube on first. Now we're going to take our wire guardian, put that on next. Just like we did the other one. You're going to feed that through the other side of the wire guardian. And now we're going to take our leather cord for the other end and feed this through. And you want that to pass over the wire guardian so that it's in the hook like that. So now we're going to fold our wire, pass it through the other side, going through our crimp tube, and I'm also going to go through the first bead like that. So we're going to pull this, and what we want to do is we want to get the slack out. So just grab your tool, hold on to that tail, and gently pull until the slack is out of that, because you want your crimp tube to be up next to the bead, as close to the wire guardian as you can get. So I think that's pretty good. So now from here, we're going to do our final crimp. So just like we did on the other side, take your crimping tool, place the tube in that crevice, and pinch. And now we're going to fold a crimp by placing that in the first notch, and you want to fold that crimp over. Might be a little awkward, so you might have to pull on that up a little bit. And then you're going to squeeze it tight when you fold it. That's nice and snug. And from here we're going to cut off the extra wire. So just take a pair of wire cutters. Use my flush cutters. And I'll just cut off this extra wire. There we go. So now that we have that on, I'll show you how to put on the clasp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on off camera, and then we'll do the lobster clasp and the final split ring, and then we'll wrap up our video. Alright, now we're going to do our final step here. Now that we have the other ends crimped, just like we did the other side, we're going to take our 4mm jump ring, open that up, and you just want to twist that towards you. Put that on one end of your finding. And now I'm going to take the lobster clasp, put that on, and now we're going to close this. So that's what that should look like. So now for the other end, I'm putting on a split ring. I wanted to have a larger opening for the other side. And to put the split ring on, that's where you're going to use your split ring tool. Very easy to do. So take your split ring, and you notice that you've got a crooked end like this, and you want to position your split ring so that the opening is right in front. So notice where the crevice is. I'm going to place my split ring right over that and press down. And that opens it big enough to where you can slide on your finding. So I'm going to loop that around the end of my crimp finding. Once it's on, I can take my tool off and just slide this around. And I'm going to use a pair of pliers to hold on to my split ring as I'm rotating this around. Keep rotating till you get to the end. And there is our split ring attached. Nice and secure, very simple to do. And now we can fasten. And you have a nice heavy duty jump ring attachment with your lobster clasp. That will last for quite a while. So there's our finished neck piece. And to get the kinks out of your leather wire, what I usually do is just run some warm water over it and let it sit overnight, and that will get the folds out so that it's nice and smooth. So that turned out pretty nice. Very easy to do. Be a nice holiday gift for a gentleman or lady who likes this type of patterns and stones. Very simple to make. So this concludes today's tutorial. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and thank you for joining me today. I'll have links in the description box below where you can find some of these beads. Now again, these were from my stash, so I don't know if you'll be able to find the exact style and colors, but I'll direct you to a couple of websites that do sell this type of magnesite and hematite beads. I have a website where I sell my own jewelry, and you'll see a link to that as well, and I'll have this posted for sale. If you're not a subscriber, I hope that you do subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified when I upload new videos. I want to thank you to all of you that have subscribed and liked and commented and keep sharing my videos. I really appreciate you coming back to watch. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Happy beading, and I'll see you next time.